So please go to my Facebook page, Shredded Sports Science. I've linked it down below. It's pretty sad at the moment, so please help me to grow that page and create a better form of content. Whenever you get a question such as this, you need to use a continuum to answer it. And essentially by doing this, you have to categorize yourself. And maybe that's something that's not natural to us, to put ourselves into these boxes. Because really, when it comes to these major issues of changing your body, the cookie cutter, one size fits all approach just is not effective. There are many variables which goes into answering a question such as this. And somewhere along that continuum is where you will fit. For example, the first one would be in terms of your training experience. Are you a novice trainer, a beginner trainer? Are you an advanced lifter, experienced? The more novice you are, the more beginner level you are, the greater potential for muscle growth you have. Because essentially your motor units within the muscles are offline. There's no need for them to be recruited by the nervous system to create these bodily movements, because you're not using them. You're not lifting weights. Your body does not want to burn those extra calories to carry extra muscle mass if you're not using it. And in contrast to that, the more trained you are, the closer towards your genetic potential of muscle growth you will be. So the harder it will be for you to grow muscle, the more trained you are. And the more trained and experienced you are, that's where you need the more advanced, intricate training methods, which is one goal of my channel. Another variable on a continuum is your health, let's call it. Are you morbidly obese? Are you obese? Are you overweight? Are you within a healthy body fat range for your age and gender? Are you extremely lean? The more obese you are, the more fat you're carrying, the more potential for faster fat loss there will be. And vice versa, the leaner you are, if you're 13-12% body fat, your body is going to want to hold on to those fat stores. So the harder it's going to be for you to lose that fat. Having said that, the more trained you are, the better your body is at partitioning fuel in order to be used by the body. For example, stored glycogen. And the less trained you are, let's say if you are obese and untrained, your body is not efficient at using food sources and shuttling them to the muscles. And then another variable we could use is, are you chemically enhanced or are you natty? And that's fairly self-explanatory, but of course that will have a major issue in terms of this question. So when it comes to the idea of can you lose fat and build muscle at the same time, the answer is yes. However, it depends on many variables, where you fit into the continuum, and this issue of significance. Now, if you are doing these two things at the same time, you can increase muscle mass, you can lose fat, but how significant will the results be? And that's what you need to consider. This whole process falls under this term body recomposition. Decreasing fat, increasing muscle mass. This increase in muscle mass, which will increase your basal metabolic rate, which means you're going to burn more calories anyway, which is another reason for increasing muscle mass. And if you choose this method, it is a slow, cumulative process. You need to understand that. And that is why that people generally will have a specific goal within their training, such as bulking, adding mass, or cutting and losing fat, or this idea of a lean bulk or adding lean mass, where they're looking to add mass. They accept they're going to add a little fat, but they're minimizing it through their nutrition and their training. And so how do you do this? How do you add muscle and lose fat? Well, actually, that's got to be another video for me, because there's so much information, but I'm just going to give you a quick breakdown. And so for bulking, you'll be in calorie surplus. For losing fat, you'll be in some form of calorie deficit or negative energy balance. And so many of the methods to do this will actually involve this kind of periodized bulking and cutting, but it will be very short-term rotation. So you may be bulking for a few days and then using cutting protocols for a few days. It may be 1 week and 1 week. It could be they're very short, intertwined, interspersing of these two techniques to build muscle and lose fat at the same time. And most certainly, what is important if you are trying to lose fat and build muscle is your protein intake, because essentially you want to You want to grow your muscle mass, and most certainly you do not want muscle atrophy. At the very least, you want to maintain the gains that you create. I'm going to make a video about that as well, because generally some very popular fitness figures and supplement companies greatly overstate how much protein you need to build muscle. And another method that I will quickly run through is by Aragon, and he works closely with Dr. Brad, who I've mentioned in many videos, and he spawned this concept of bulking, okay, a mixture of cutting and bulking. And he basically says what I've said in terms of there's a large potential for fat loss and muscle growth for untrained people. Even skinny fat people have this potential. And he gives 3 specific rules that you can follow if you're looking to cut fat and to bulk, add muscle mass at the same time. And here they are. So the first one is to train hard. Now, that may sound obvious, but you have to make sure that you have this progressive overload within your training. Most certainly, challenging resistance training, overloading the muscle, varying the exercises you're using, hitting the muscles from different angles to work different neural branches, to activate different motor units within the muscle to create that balance, to create that growth stimulus. And his second rule is to do with nutrition. Now, he gives a specific calculation in terms of how you can calculate your calories. He says, for example, if you're 175 pounds and you work out for 3 hours a week, you're going to multiply that target weight by the sum of 2 multipliers. 12, which indicates a person with a relatively fast metabolism, and 3 for the 3 hours of training. So that gives you 175 times 15, which gives you a calorie intake of 2,625. That's how many calories that specific person with a faster metabolism will consume in order to cut fat and to bulk at the same time. And the last point that Aragon gives is this idea of being consistent. Now, this is true with many things, whether it be working on your balance, your mobility, whether it's strength training, muscle building, fat loss. Actually, it really does take time if you're doing it naturally. It can be frustrating, and it's a cumulative process. So I'm James Linker. This is Shredded Sports Science. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you soon.